Well, it would be a new frontier and an opportunity to rethink the whole nature of government, just as was done in the creation of the United States. I mean, I would suggest having direct democracy, like people vote directly on things, as opposed to representative democracy. So representative democracy, I think, is too subject to special interest and, a coercion of the politicians and that kind of thing. So I'd recommend that there's just direct democracy. People vote on laws, the population votes on laws themselves, and then the laws must be short enough that people can understand them.
Yeah, and then keeping a well-informed populace, really being transparent about all the information about what they're voting for.
Absolute transparency.
Yeah.
There's always a slight amount of trepidation when you click accept cookies. I feel as though there's perhaps a very tiny chance that it'll open a portal to hell or something like that.
That's exactly how I feel.
Why do they keep wanting me to accept it? What do they want with this cookie? Somebody got upset with accepting cookies or something somewhere. Who cares? It's so annoying to keep accepting all these cookies. Yes, you can have my damn cookie. I don't care. Whatever. Somebody was there's some good intentions of privacy or whatever, but now everyone just has to click accept cookies, and it's now, you have billions of people who have to keep clicking accept cookie. It's super annoying. Then we just accept the damn cookie. It's fine. There is I think a fundamental problem that because we've not really had a major, a world war or something like that in a while, and obviously we'd like to not have world wars. There's not been a cleansing function for rules and regulations. So wars did have, some silver lining in that there would be a reset on rules and regulations after a war. So World Wars I and II, there were huge resets on rules and regulations. Now, if the society does not have a war and there's no cleansing function or garbage collection for rules and regulations, then rules and regulations will accumulate every year because they're immortal. There's no actual humans die, but the laws don't. So we need a garbage collection function for rules and regulations. They should not just be immortal, because some of the rules and regulations that are put in place will be counterproductive. Done with good intentions, but counterproductive. Sometimes not done with good intentions. So if rules and regulations just accumulate every year, and you get more and more of them, then eventually you won't be able to do anything. You're just like Gulliver with, tied down by thousands of little strings. And we see that in U.S. and basically all economies that have been around for a while, and regulators and legislators create new rules and regulations every year, but they don't put effort into removing them. And I think that's very important that we put effort into removing rules and regulations. But it gets tough because you get special interests that then are dependent on, they have a vested interest in that whatever rule and regulation, and that they fight to not get it removed. Civilization's arteries just harden over time, and you can just get less and less done because there's just a rule against everything. So I think, I don't know, for Mars or whatever, I'd say, or even for, obviously for Earth as well, I think there should be an active process for removing rules and regulations and questioning their existence. If we've got a function for creating rules and regulations, because rules and regulations you can also think of as they're like software or lines of code for operating civilization. That's what rules and regulations. So it's not like we shouldn't have rules and regulations, but you have code accumulation, but no code removal. And so it just gets to become basically archaic bloatware after a while. And it's just, it makes it hard for things to progress. So, I don't know, maybe Mars, you'd have any given law must have a sunset, and require active voting to keep it up there, And I actually also say and these are just, I don't know, recommendations or thoughts, and ultimately it will be up to the people on Mars to decide. But I think it should be easier to remove a law than to add one because of just to overcome the inertia of laws. So maybe it's for argument's sake, you need say 60% vote to have a law take effect, but only a 40% vote to remove it. Try to be useful. Do things that are useful to your fellow human beings, to the world. It's very hard to be useful. Very hard. Are you contributing more than you consume? Try to have a positive net contribution to society. I think that's the thing to aim for, not to try to be sort of a leader for the sake of being a leader or whatever. A lot of times, the people you want as leaders are the people who don't want to be leaders. If you can live a useful life, that is a good life, a life worth having lived. And like I said, I would encourage people to use the mental tools of physics and apply them broadly in life. They're the best tools. But I encourage people to read a lot of books. Basically, try to ingest as much information as you can, and try to also just develop a good general knowledge. So you at least have like a rough lay of the land of the knowledge landscape. Try to learn a little bit about a lot of things, because you might not know what you're really interested in. How would you know what you're really interested in if you at least aren't like doing a peripheral exploration broadly of the knowledge landscape? And talk to people from different walks of life and different industries and professions and skills and occupations. Like, just try to learn as much as possible. Man's search for meaning. But just generally, like I said, I would encourage people to read broadly in many different subject areas, and then try to find something where there's an overlap of your talents and what you're interested in. So people may be good at something, or they may have skill at a particular thing, but they don't like doing it. Mm-hmm. So you want to try to find a thing where that's a good combination of the things that you're inherently good at, but you also like doing. You got to learn about things somehow. So reading a broad range, just really read it. At one point when I was a kid, I read through the encyclopedia, so that was pretty helpful. And also things I didn't even know existed, a lot. So obviously, encyclopedias were digestible, I think, 40 years ago. Maybe read through the condensed version of the Encyclopedia Britannica. I'd recommend that. You can always skip subjects where you read a few paragraphs and you're not interested, just jump to the next one. So read the encyclopedia or skim through it. But I put a lot of stock and certainly have a lot of respect for someone who puts in an honest day's work to do useful things. And just generally to have not a zero-sum mindset, have more of a grow the pie mindset. If you sort of say when I see people perhaps including some very smart people kind of taking an attitude of doing things that seem morally questionable, it's often because they have at a base sort of axiomatic level a zero-sum mindset, and without realizing it, they don't realize they have a zero-sum mindset, or at least they don't realize it consciously. And so if you have a zero-sum mindset, then the only way to get ahead is by taking things from others. If the pie is fixed, then the only way to have more pie is to take someone else's pie. But this is false. Obviously the pie has grown dramatically over time, the economic pie. So in reality, you can overuse this analogy. You can have there's a lot of pie.
Yeah,
pie is not fixed.
Yes.
So you really want to make sure you're not operating without realizing it from a zero-sum mindset, where the only way to get ahead is to take things from others. Then that's going to result in you trying to take things from others, which is not good. It's much better to work on adding to the economic pie. Maybe, creating. Like I said, creating more than you consume, doing more than you, So that's a big deal.